The Buddha. By Venerable Narada Mahather. The Buddha was a unique being. He was profoundest of thinkers, the most persuasive successful of reformers, the most compassionate and tolerant of teachers, the most efficient of administrators. The most notable characteristic of the Buddha was his absolute purity and perfect holiness. He was so pure and so holy that he should be called the holiest of holies. He was the perfect model of all the virtues he preached. On no occasion did the Buddha manifest any moral weakness. Everybody that came in contact with him acknowledged his indisputable greatness and was deeply influenced by his magnetic personality. His will, wisdom, compassion, service, renunciation, exemplary personal life, the blameless methods that were employed to propagate the Dhamma, and his final success, all these factors have contributed to hail the Buddha as the greatest religious teacher. The Buddha was the first most active missionary in the world. He wandered from place to place for 45 years preaching his doctrine to the masses and the intelligentsia. Till his last moment, he served humanity both by example and by precept. His distinguished disciples followed suit. Penniless, they even traveled to distant lands to propagate the Dhamma, expecting nothing in return. "Strive on with diligence," were the last words of the Buddha. No emancipation or purification can be gained without personal striving. As such, petitional or intercessory prayers are denounced in Buddhism, and in their stead is meditation, which leads to self-control, purification, and enlightenment. The object of the Buddha's mission was to deliver beings from suffering by eradicating its cause and to teach a way to put an end to both birth and death if one wishes to do so. Incidentally, however, the Buddha has expounded discourses which tend to worldly progress. Both material and spiritual progress are essential for the development of a nation. One should not be separated from the other. Nor should material progress be achieved by sacrificing spiritual progress, as is to be witnessed today among materialistic-minded nations in the world. Pundit Nehru often referred to the Buddha as the greatest son of India. Drive S. Radhakrishnan, another Indian leader and a philosopher, in paying a glowing tribute to the Buddha, states, "In Gautama Buddha we have a mastermind from the East second to none as far as the influence on the thought and life of the human race is concerned, and sacred to all as the founder of a religious tradition whose hold is hardly less wide and deep than any other. He belongs to the history of the world's thought, to the general inheritance of all cultivated men. For judged by intellectual integrity, moral earnestness, and spiritual insight, the Buddha is undoubtedly one of the greatest figures in history. In The Three Greatest Men in History, historian H. G. Wells writes, in the Buddha you see clearly a man, simple, devout, lonely, battling for light, a vivid human personality, not a myth. He too had a message to mankind universal in character. Many of our best modem ideas are in closest harmony with it. All the miseries and discontents are due, he taught, to selfishness. Before a man can become serene he must cease to live for his senses or himself. Then he merges into a great being. The Buddha in a different language called men to self-forgetfulness 500 years before Christ. In some ways the Buddha is nearer to us and our needs. He was more lucid upon our individual importance, sacrifice and service than Christ, and less ambiguous upon the question of personal immortality. The Buddha was indeed a man, but an extraordinary man. As a Buddha he was not born, but he made himself so. He perceived the latent possibilities and creative power of man, and without arrogating to himself to divinity advised his followers to emulate him. For Buddhahood is latent in all. The Buddha is venerated by his followers as their supreme moral teacher, but he is never worshipped as a god expecting worldly or spiritual favors. The Buddha left no room whatsoever for his devout adherents to deify him. Nevertheless, it should be remarked that there was no moral teacher who was so godless as the Buddha, yet so godlike. Bertrand Russell rightly calls the Buddha the greatest atheist of all times. But atheism should not be misconstrued as synonymous with irreligiousness. To establish genuine peace and happiness amongst mankind, A sincere religious awakening is absolutely necessary in this morally bankrupt world. What is of importance is not mere faith in dogmatic creeds or mere observance of rites and ceremonies, beneficial as they are for the masses, but a clean and useful life of love, reason and justice based on the noble principles of their respective teachers. Professor Jode says that in the 6th century BC there arose in India and China 3 great teachers who tried to make men understand that it was important to do what was right for its own sake, quite apart from whether there was a God or not. Among them the most important was Gautama the Buddha. The Buddha did emphasize the importance of morals as a means to an end. He counseled that we should exercise right thoughts of selflessness, loving kindness and harmlessness, right speech that enables one to control one's mischievous tongue, right action by refraining from killing men or animals, from stealing by direct or indirect means and from sexual misconduct, and right livelihood which should be free from exploitation, misappropriation or any other illegal means of acquiring wealth or property. These form the foundations of morality. The Buddha addressed his noble message of selfless service, morality and boundless loving kindness not only to kings, princes, nobles and millionaires but also to the poor, lowly, and needy. He provided equal opportunities for all and enhanced the status of people. He declared that the road to spiritual development is open to all in every condition of life, high or low, Sip or sinner. Who would care to turn a new leaf and seek perfection? Daily the Buddha preached to both monks and the laity. What he taught was, however, an infinitesimal part of what he knew. On one occasion the Buddha took a handful of leaves and said that what he taught was comparable to the leaves in his hand. What he did not teach was comparable to the amount of leaves in the forest. He taught only what is necessary for our deliverance. In his daily routine, he looked up individuals who needed his help. He instructed and exhorted his ordained disciples who flocked to hear him, and he even expounded Dhamma to the gods, devas. He taught Dhamma to the masses and the intellectuals. His teachings in fact contained milk for the babe and meat for the adult. Before he preached, the Buddha saw to it that the hungry were fed, as food for the body is as essential as food for the mind. He ministered the sick with his own hands and declared, "He who ministers unto the sick ministers unto me." The Buddha established a classless society by opening the gates of the Sangha to all deserving individuals, making no distinction between caste or class. The only distinction was in the seniority of the ordination, like novices, samanera, monks, bhikkhus, theras, and mahatheras, and the gradual achievement of the 4 supramundane paths. Sangharajas and Nayakatheras were later innovations. Even the constitution of the Sangha was democratically constituted. In this connection Lord Zetland says, "And it may come as a surprise to many to learn that in the assemblies of the Buddhists in India 2000 years and more ago are to be found the rudiments of our parliamentary practice of the present day." Likewise, for the first time in history the Buddha founded the religious order of nuns for women, irrespective of class or caste. He thus gave equality to womanhood for spiritual development. The Buddha was also the first in known history to attempt to abolish slavery, by introducing the concept of brotherhood and dignity of mankind. The Buddha preached against the sacrifice of unfortunate animals as offerings and brought them within the ambit of loving kindness. A genuine Buddhist practices loving kindness towards every living being, making no distinction whatsoever. It is loving kindness that should form the basis for a brotherhood of nations, or a religious brotherhood that should break down all barriers separating one nation from another or one religious calling from another. If followers of different faiths cannot or will not meet on a common platform like brothers and sisters simply because they belong to different religions, then surely the noble religious teachers would have failed in their noble mission for the cause of humanity. The Buddha was absolutely tolerant. Intolerance is the greatest enemy of religion. The Buddha therefore advised his disciples not to become angry, discontented or even displeased when others spoke ill of him, his teachings or his monks. "If you show displeasure," said the Buddha, You will not only bring yourselves into danger of spiritual loss, but you will not be able to judge whether what others say is correct or otherwise. A most enlightened sentiment, even after 2,500 years of enlightenment. Said Drive S. Radhakrishnan. The Buddha expounded no dogmas which one must blindly believe. No creed or faith which one must accept without reasoning. No superstitious rites and ceremonies to be observed for formal entry into the fold. And no meaningless sacrifices and penances for one's purification. The Buddha presented simple truths to the masses. And profound philosophical teachings to the intellectuals. He advised seekers of truth not to accept anything on the authority of another, but to exercise their own reasoning. And to judge for themselves whether it is right or wrong. During the peaceful march of his teaching for 2,500 years, not a single drop of blood was shed in the propagation of the Dhamma. And no conversion was ever made by force or repulsive methods. Yet the Buddha was the first and greatest missionary who ever lived on earth. The Buddha's sublime teaching has spread and is still making peaceful inroads into more and more countries in the world owing to its rationality, practicability, efficacy, non-aggressiveness, tolerance, and universality. The Buddha Dhamma has contributed greatly to the cultural advancement of many Asian countries. In fact, all Buddhist countries grew up in the cradle of Buddhism. Nations have come and gone, empires founded on might and force have flourished and perished. But the empire of the Dhamma founded by the Buddha, on love, compassion, and reason, still flourishes and will continue to flourish.
Great virtues of the Buddha. The Buddha was an embodiment of all great virtues. In him was the embodiment of the highest morality, sila, deepest concentration, samadhi, and penetrative wisdom, panna, qualities unsurpassed and unparalleled in human history. These great noble qualities were mentioned in the sacred texts dealing with the discourses of the Buddha. Buddhists all over the world recite and contemplate on the 9 sublime virtues as contained in the Pali formula, in their daily devotional exercises. Although the Buddha possesses various other noble qualities, here in this formula, only 9 are depicted. It is not out of place to mention that in certain other schools of Buddhism, the followers have introduced diverse Buddhas by alluding to some of these great qualities of the Buddha. However, whatever may be the manner used to introduce the Buddha, it is a fact that all those historical Buddhas who appeared in this world, from time to time, were imbued with the same virtues and the same enlightenment. There should, therefore, be no differentiation in paying respects to any particular Buddha, if the designated Buddha is a real Buddha. Consequently, there should be no argument as to which Buddha is more powerful or superior to another Buddha. The following verses, in Pali, relate to the 9 intrinsic virtues of the Buddha which Buddhist devotees recite when they pay homage to the Buddha. Idipi so bhagava araham samasambuddho vijakarana sampano shugato lokaviju anutaro puris adamisarati satha devamanasanam buddho bhagavathi. The authenticity of this passage is unquestionable, since it was derived from many important texts of the Tipitaka in the Buddhist canon, as well as from amongst the 40 methods of samatha bhavana, tranquil meditation on buddhanasatai, i.e. meditation on the virtues of the Buddha. A brief translation of the Pali passage is as follows. Such indeed is the great Araham, perfect and worthy of homage, Samasambuddho omniscient, Vijakaranasampano endowed with clear vision and good conduct. Shugato well done, well spoken, Lokavija wise in the knowledge of the world, Anutaro Purisadamisarati peerless trainer of the untamable ones. Sathadeva Manasanam teacher of gods and men, Buddho enlightened and showing the path to enlightenment, Bhagavatha blessed. 1. Araham. The Buddha is depicted as an arahant in 5 aspects, namely: a. He has discarded all defilements. b. He has suppressed all the enemies connected with the eradication of defilements. c. He destroyed the spokes of the wheel of existence. d. He is worthy of being given offerings and paid homage. He withheld no secrets in his character or in his teachings. Buddha was the greatest figure in human life, perfect, infallible, blameless, and spotless. At the foot of the Bodhi tree, he conquered all evil and attained the highest stage of sanctity. He put an end to all sufferings with his attainment of Nibbana. He was the world-honored one, so worthy of homage in all respects. His teaching contains no mysteries or secrets and is like an open book for all to come and see. 2. Sammasambuddho. The Buddha was designated as Sammasambuddha because he comprehended the existence of the world in its proper perspective, and he discovered the Four Noble Truths through his own comprehension. Born a prince, he renounced the world and strove for 6 long years seeking enlightenment. During this period, he approached all the renowned teachers of the day and tried all the methods his teachers could teach him. Having achieved the attainment even equivalent to that of his teachers, he still could not find the elusive goal of enlightenment. Finally, basing his research on rational understanding and treading a middle path, thus departing from the traditional way of legendary religious beliefs and practices, he found the final solution to the universal problems of unsatisfactoriness, conflict, and disappointments, dukkha. He discovered the law of dependent origination, the law of cause and effect, which he assessed as the reality of the world, thereby becoming the Supreme Enlightened One. 3. Vijakarana Sampanno. This term Vijakarana Sampanno meant that the Buddha was endowed with perfect clear vision and exemplary good conduct. It has 2 significant aspects as indicated in the threefold knowledge and eightfold wisdom. The threefold knowledge is listed as follows. A. Firstly, the Buddha could recall his past births and trace back his previous existence as well as that of others. B. Secondly, apart from being able to recount the past, he had the unique foresight of being able to see into the future and visualized the whole universe at any single moment. C. Thirdly, he had that deep penetrating knowledge pertaining to arahanthood. On the eightfold wisdom, the Buddha was listed as having the unique gift of insight, the power of performing supernormal feats, a divine ear, the power of reading others' thoughts, various physical powers, ability to recollect past births, a divine eye, and exquisite knowledge pertaining to a life of serene holiness. With regard to the word karana or good conduct, this aspect is divided into 15 different categories or types of virtues which were fully imbued in the Buddha. These additional virtues are being classified as restraint in deed and word, restraint in the absorption of sense effects, moderation in the consumption of food, avoidance of excessive sleep, maintenance of crystal clear vision in faith, realization of shame in committing evil, realization of fear in committing evil, thirst for knowledge, energy, mindfulness and understanding the 4 trends pertaining to the material sphere. Panna and Karuna are reflected as wisdom and compassion, both of which are the basic twin virtues of the Buddha. Panna endowed him with wisdom whilst Karuna bestowed him with compassion to be of service to mankind. He realized through his wisdom what is good and what is not good for all beings, and through his compassion he led his followers away from evil and misery. The great virtues of the Buddha enabled him to shower the highest degree of dispensation to brotherhood and sterling qualities to all beings. 4. Shugato. The Buddha was also designated as Shugato, which meant that his path is good, the destination is excellent, and the words and methods used to show the path are harmless and blameless. The Buddha's path to the attainment of bliss is correct and pure, uncurving, direct, and certain. His words are sublime and infallible. Many well-known historians and great scientists have commented that the only religious teaching which has remained unchallenged by science and freethinkers is the Buddha word. 5. Lokavidu. The term Lokavidu is applied to the Buddha as the one with exquisite knowledge of the world. The master had experienced, known, and penetrated into all aspects of worldly life, physical as well as spiritual. He was the first to make the observation that there were thousands of world systems in the universe. He was the first to declare that the world was nothing but conceptual. In his words, it is regarded pointless to speculate on the origin and the end of the world or universe. He was of the view that the origin of the world, its cessation, and the path to the cessation thereof is to be found within the fathom-long body, the human being with its perceptions and consciousness. 6. Anuttaro Puris Adamas Arati. Anuttaro means matchless and unsurpassed. Puris Adama refers to individuals to whom the gift of the Dhamma is to be endowed, whereas Sarati means a leader. These three terms taken together imply an incomparable leader capable of bringing wayward men to the path of righteousness. Amongst those who were persuaded to follow the path of the Dhamma and to shun evil were notorious murderers like Angulimala, Alawaka and Nalagiri, hundreds of robbers, cannibals, and recalcitrants such as Sakake. All of them were brought into the fold of the Dhamma, and some even attained sainthood within their lifetime. Even Devadatta, the archenemy of the Buddha, was rehabilitated by the Buddha through his great compassion. 7. Satha Deva Manasanam. The translation of this term is that the Buddha was a teacher of devas and men. It is to be noted that devas as used in this context refers to beings who, by their own good karma, have evolved beyond the human stage, which is not regarded as the final stage of biological evolution. Devas in the Buddhist context have no connection with ancient traditional theological myths. The Buddha was a remarkable teacher who was flexible and capable of devising diverse techniques suited to the caliber and different mentalities of devas and human beings. He instructed everyone to lead a righteous way of life. The Buddha was indeed a universal teacher. 8. Buddho. This particular epithet, Buddho, would appear to be a repetition of the second in this category, although it has its own connotation. Buddho means that the master, being omniscient, possessed extraordinary powers of being able to convince others of his great discovery through his exquisite art of teaching others his Dhamma. His techniques were unsurpassed by any other teacher. The term Buddho has its secondary meaning translated as awakened, since the ordinary state of man is perpetually in a state of stupor. The Buddha was the first to be awakened and to shake off this state of stupor. Subsequently he convinced others to be awake and to steer clear from the state of lethargic samsaric sleep or stupor. 9. Bhagava. Of all the terms used to describe the Buddha, the words Buddho and Bhagava, used separately or together as Buddho Bhagava meaning the Blessed One, are most popular and commonly used. Deserving awe and veneration, blessed is his name. Therefore, the word Bhagava had various meanings as suggested by some commentators. The Buddha was termed Bhagava or the Blessed One because he was the happiest and most fortunate amongst mankind for having managed to conquer all evils, for expounding the highest Dhamma, and for being endowed with supernormal and superhuman intellectual faculties. These 9 great qualities of the Buddha could serve as a subject for meditation if the various interpretations of each particular term are carefully scrutinized and their real intent and the essence grasped and absorbed. Mere utterance of the passage, without its full comprehension, could not be considered effective even as a devotional tract. The best method would be to recite repeatedly and at the same time comprehend the full meaning of these utterances. Whilst so doing, one should also concentrate on these sterling qualities as true noble virtues to be emulated by all followers of the Buddha.